All right, BCA 101, day 28. This was Wednesday, D28. We started out, okay, we talked about protocols, bandwidth, and data usage. It's going to be a little harder to follow because we were referencing, different parts of the board while we talked about this. Traffic moves through the internet, and actually any wide area network, and even some LANs, using protocol TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, IP, that's a P there, okay? More locally, we use Ethernet. We can connect by wire, or we can connect Wi-Fi. And Ethernet, when we say wired, we also mean you could use fiber. How we measure these things in terms of going through networks: bandwidth and data usage. Bandwidth, how many bits per second. Data usage, how many bytes that you actually put through. So bandwidth, you can think of the pipe. How big is it? How many bits every second can you send through it, which is good. The bigger the better, the more you pay for as it gets bigger. And then, irregardless of time, is how many bytes, let's say for a month, our plan for my wife, our LTE plan, our data plan is 2 gig. So they're saying during this time period, we can actually send 2 gig through the pipe, irregardless of how big it is. Our MediaCom now uses both. They guarantee us so much bandwidth, plus there is some limit on our data usage. And that's how they make money. So then we take a look at the network, and some of this is review, but we have network end devices and we have intermediate network devices. The advantage of understanding this is we need to think about what do we use to get into a network. Here we have a PC. When I say PC, I mean laptop, desktop, those type of things. This is more like tablets and so forth. Smartphones, you're going to be a smartphone. You can use a smartphone and connect into the Wi-Fi. You can use a smartphone and connect into your cellular tower, LTE. This protocol works a little different than this protocol. Okay? Intermediate devices, we have work server 1 that we're using. Okay? That connects, this is a multi-layered switch, this is a classroom switch, we have a router that routes, another multi-layered switch, here is the main campus, and here is the IT area. And this multi-layered switch connects us to our ISP, which is the Iowa Communications Network. That's who NIACC pays for its connection into the internet. So there's like a line where we have end devices getting into the network, and then this would have some fiber connection that would connect to, let's say, your Verizon, and then Verizon, actually Verizon's all the way in there, but there may be some subplace, so this might be fiber connecting you in. Alright, we're going to keep moving too long on any one thing. Next thing, very briefly, we talked about email. Okay, so I'm at home, and my wife and I are both sitting at our desk. Okay. There's my wife. There's me. I send her an email. She has a Google account. I have a Google. She has a Yahoo account. Excuse me. Hers is Yahoo. Mine's Google. What happens when I send her an email? It just doesn't jump from my computer to her computer. No, it doesn't do that. And so what actually the students had to do was figure out what actually happens. Okay, where does the mail go? And where is it stored? And then where does it go when it comes back when you read your mail? So the students were to draw a picture, okay, And then they took the picture and they actually put it into a Google Doc and then shared the Google Doc. And we're going to look at those a little bit on Friday, and we'll look at them next week. So, like the students' email is at Microsoft. This is where their email sits. So they can be home, and literally they can go to get their mail and bring it back. But if okay, so it's interesting because we have these different places we keep mail. For example, my college mail is kept here at the college, but pretty soon it'll be kept out there with Microsoft. Next thing, students looked up what a Tier 1 providers were. There's not very many. They looked them up and listed them here in the United States. Tier 2 providers communicate with Tier 1 providers. Tier 1 providers communicate with each other at no cost. It's just the deal they made. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Tier 2 pays a cost to connect into the Tier 1s. How do we pay? Well, for example, I just looked at our Mediacom bill. Mediacom guarantees us 15 million bits per second, so they're talking about bandwidth. And then they also have a data limit, and I don't even know what that is exactly. And then we get so much bandwidth going up, way less than coming down. Okay? Because we're sending way less traffic this direction, bringing a lot more traffic this direction. So it's a pay feature, how it works. Okay? So that's how we pay. Now, the next things we talked about, I gave a little overview. Early 1900s, 1919, somewhere's in there, AT&T was created, and it was a monopoly. It stayed that way until 1984. The ARPANET was created in the 1960s, the Internet, which made use of this vast network that was basically a monopoly supported by the government. 1984, they decided to break it up. 8 groups. Then all these small phone companies developed that could connect in. CLTEL, Omnitel, okay, I forget what the Winnebago one is. Anyway, they're all over the place, so they can all connect in. This was very positive. It was a good deal, okay, except these have really kind of come back together as some groups, and so we get some large groups like Verizon, okay, and now the new AT&T. These large Tier 1 providers that manage this massive network. Alright, so then today the students talked about, and I won't mention much about it, we talked about the FCC monitors ISPs, the FTC monitors trade within the network, and ISPs, as of a bill, can now gather and sell any information that goes through them. Okay? So, the students discussed that and listed their thoughts. We can talk more about that later on, it'll come up again. So here's the big picture. If you're going to use the internet at all, you must go through some ISP. Now there's some ways to manipulate that. We'll talk about VPNs on Friday a little bit, but you must go through a ISP to get into the internet, no matter where you get in. And then the internet manages your traffic to get it to where you want to go. How we get in? Well, we have a wireless means, and there's more than 2, but I just list 2 here. Wi-Fi, LTE. You can have some kind of connection that can be, for example, here at the college we have fiber running between the buildings, and we use wire to connect the devices. So we have all these computing devices out here. I shouldn't say computing, intermediate network devices that allow us to get to what we want to get to. And of course there's more than Microsoft, Google, and Yahoo. but allows us to get to where we want to go. And somewhere here there are end devices like servers in which we get information off and we use. All right. Unit 5, Communications in the Internet. We finished that pretty much on Friday. And then we move into Unit 6. And we talk a lot about security, which is always a hot topic when you talk about technology. Okay. We should have finished up the assignment for assignment 4, and we'll start the project. The project is kind of long for 4, so you want to get started on that and not try to do it the night before it's due. And I might move the due date of that back a little bit. All right, that's it.